Hello, and welcome to the Hamumu Halloween Home Horror Hoedown. I am your host, Mike Hommel.
And I'm your other host, Solely Hommel.
And we're going to take you through 31 scary movies through the month of October, like we do every year. But for the first time this year, we're going to do it entirely in audio format. We like to mix it up every year. One thing you need to be aware of is that we will be employing a truly ghoulish number of spoilers throughout all of these reviews. So if you haven't seen the movie we're reviewing, maybe don't listen to our podcast until you do. We highly recommend you check them out and watch along with us. It's going to be fun for everybody. I mean, how could it not be? So if you're ready and you've watched the movie, please step inside our lair and let's begin. Tales of Halloween is a 2015 movie, rated R, that we watched on Netflix, and it's 92 minutes long. It was rated on IMDb 5.5, on Metacritic 64, on Rotten Tomato Critics 76, so we're going up, but the Rotten Tomato audience gave it only a 41.
Interesting.
So, this was your choice, and I am wondering what on earth made you pick an anthology for me to enjoy?
Sometimes I like to pick things that I know will make you happy and make you go, what?
Wow.
That was definitely part of it. I wanted to surprise you. Also, it seemed intriguing. I don't know, there was something about the way it was described that seemed like it was going to be fun, and it was not wrong.
It's always fun to watch an anthology.
It
That's a rule.
It is not always fun to watch an anthology.
Always 100% of the time fun to watch an anthology.
Like 90% of the time, they're terrible. Terrible.
So, it is 10 short, approximately 9-minute stories of Halloween. They're horror comedy, and they are very much about Halloween rather than horror in general. So they're kind of focused on a Halloween night.
Yeah, that was pretty much the only, consistent thread throughout, was that it took place on Halloween, and there was some kind of surprising, usually funny in some way kind of twist.
Yeah, I liked that there were a bunch of twists. There was a tie-in of the whole thing with a woman talking on the radio saying, everybody, it's Halloween, be careful out there. And she kind of introduced each story a little bit, but it was barely anything.
Yeah.
And also, one of the fun parts was in the 6th story, Ding Dong, that was a story about people opening the door to greet trick-or-treaters for the entire story. And throughout it, what's fun is the people who came to trick-or-treat were all characters from the other stories, which was amusing, but really had no purpose. It was just for fun.
And the last one, Bad Seed, it wrapped up some of the stories, or kind of there was a sheriff dealing with a situation in that story. There was mention of all these other situations that were going on in town. So it was clear that...
they mentioned all of them.
Yeah, it was clear that these stories were all taking place in the same universe on the same night.
Yeah. Well, what is our first line and first shot this time?
So first line, first shot is a little interesting with an anthology because it doesn't really have anything to do with the first story of the anthology.
Yeah.
Basically, our first shot was a fade-in of a lady talking into a microphone. I counted it as a first shot because it went along with the kind of the intro line, which says,
"Attention all you trick-or-treaters. It's time to get your ghoul on. For tonight is All Hallows Eve, my favorite time of the year."
But really, this first shot was kind of in the middle of the credits.
They had kind of long credits telling you the titles of all the stories you're about to see, which was really handy.
Right. So I really went back and forth on whether or not I should count that as the first shot, but it felt also inappropriate to use the first shot of the first story as the first shot of the whole movie. So that's kind of where I landed.
It's a puzzle.
It is a puzzle.
So the fundamental question when we come to an anthology is always, what's your favorite story and what is your least favorite story?
I went through and I marked the stories as whether I liked them, disliked them, or was ambivalent about them. Yeah. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 10 were ones that I marked as liked.
I actually marked 7 as liked, which
wow.
is not... I didn't have an ambivalent mark, so
Yeah, there were three that I marked with sort of I didn't hate it, but I didn't really love it sort of thing. And then that left two that I did not like.
That's interesting.
Okay, so my favorite one is really going to be a toss-up between Ding Dong, that you already mentioned, where it was so, like, it was, again, the Hansel and Gretel story.
It was a crazy Hansel and Gretel story.
Yes, and it got so weird, like, with the almost Wicked Witch of the North, is that who it is, from The Wizard of Oz?
One of those directions.
No, the Wicked Witch of the West. This woman would transform into this completely different, like cartoony almost witch.
All red and white stripes.
Yeah, with super long fingers and everything.
And extra arms.
Yeah, yeah. So that, I liked the way they did it. I liked that it was very stylistic. And I liked the story. I liked how it built. And the twist to it, how, like, he was so mousy through the whole thing, and then he reveals that he got a vasectomy so that she couldn't, like, there was no way that they could bring a child into the world for her to be abusive towards, which I thought was very heroic of him. And then he got thrown into the oven.
Yeah, the exact same model of oven that we saw in The Visit, by the way. You know, with the giant gaping portal to hell on the back.
Yes, we didn't get to see the giant gaping portal to hell in The Visit, but it was
had to
definitely
be
there.
For her to lean in that far, it was definitely there.
For sure. So it's tossed up between that one and Ransom of Rusty Rex, which was not anywhere near as well done, but I liked the story of it.
That was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of funny stuff in here, actually.
So the thing about the Ransom of Rusty Rex is if you kidnap a kid and their parents don't want that kid back, that is a bad sign.
That was a really good start to the story when they got to that, and he's like, wait, you don't want him back?
They're like, we kidnapped your kid, and the guy was like, good, click. Yeah,
that was fun.
But aside from that, it really was kind of
Yeah.
But I really liked that twist.
Yeah, there was a lot of goofy, like, I don't even know, almost Home Alone kind of things where they would try to abandon the kid and he reappeared, and so silly, but it was fun.
And it was very representative of a flash fiction story, which is set up the premise and let them imagine the ending. Like, there's no resolution to this. They keep trying to get rid of him, and he keeps showing up, and that's it. And
that felt totally okay to me. That was fun and complete, by my understanding. But, just to jump to my least favorite, the only one I put a frowny face next to, I'm wondering if it might be yours as well. Grim Grinning Ghost goes absolutely nowhere. As long as the other stories, but nothing happens over the course of it. It's like a complete waste of time.
It was. There was almost no twist either. Yeah. The twist was, surprise, there's something evil sitting next to you, which wasn't a twist at all. No,
we're all concerned that this ghost is going to follow her, and if she looks back, it's supposed to take her eyes, which isn't even a thing that happens. That's what she was told. Yeah. And it just pops up next to her and goes, "Ah!" and that's the end of the story.
That was the one that I most was like, oh, I know how to rewrite this. I know how to make this one better.
Yeah. What's the new story?
Well, the new story, like, this girl sits there at her mom's Halloween party, and her mom's telling ghost stories, and then hugs her and sends her away. Yeah. And like, oh, I'm so glad you came. And she's all, oh, I know how important it is to you. And I was so sure that she was dead. Like, I'm like, that girl is a ghost. Like, she comes to her mom's Halloween party every year because she clearly got in her car and drove drunk and crashed her car at some point and died, right?
Yeah, I have comments about that.
So, like, that's the story. Why didn't that happen?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like there was nothing to this. Just to slam on this story some more, there were some horrible lessons in here. Here's a quote from this story. It is,
"Are you good to drive?"
"Oh yeah, I'm not that far, and I'm not that drunk."
Yeah.
Like, insane.
Oh, and the streets aren't filled with children on this night.
Yeah. And that, combining that lesson with the overall premise of the story, which is, if you think something's following you, don't look back. Just don't look at it.
Just go straight to your house.
Yeah. Let them follow you home. And then my other issue, just a little one, is that when her car fails, she gets out and leaves it in the middle of the road and goes home and goes to bed. She doesn't call anybody. She left it parked in the middle of the street.
She really did.
Oh,
yeah.
I was so mad.
That was a terrible story.
Super mad at that.
I'm mad now, retroactively, that they wasted those 9 minutes. Because they could have given those 9 minutes to other stories to give them more time to elaborate on the good story that they had.
Yeah.
The other one that I marked as a no-go was The Weak and the Wicked.
Yeah, that's one of my in the middle, but it's bad.
Yeah, and again, it was just that it didn't really feel like a story. Like,
I have a rewrite for that story.
Okay, what is it?
It's a very small rewrite. Same story. There's the gang that's abusing people on the streets, and they come across this guy, and he's like, hey, because you're hurting people, the demon's coming for you. And they're like, whatever, and they chase him. When they get there to the place he's leading them, which it turns out is the house they burned down that was his house, he summons the demon finally successfully, or whatever. The demon shows up.
Right, because he's wearing the appropriate outfit.
Yeah, well, I think it's because they got to the right place. I think he was leading them there. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But the demon shows up, starts killing everybody. The twist I needed was for the girl to beat the crap out of the demon. Just be like, what? Seriously, this is all you got?
Because she is the true wicked.
Yeah, because she was scary.
She was. I actually really liked the way she was played. There were some great facial expressions.
Yeah.
That were awesome. So my two main complaints with that one. One, she burned that guy's trailer up with his parents inside.
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago.
That's pretty bad.
Why is his trailer in perfect shape right now?
Well, I think it was supposed to be like a burnt out husk, but it wasn't very.
It wasn't at all. It looked fine. I didn't even realize. I'm like, oh, this is where he lives. And then we had the flashback and I'm like, oh, was that supposed to be a burnt up trailer? Because it's super not.
I think that was the idea, though.
And then it was like 10 years ago. This girl was like 6 when she murdered his family. Like, what was that?
She was definitely young. That's one of my notes. Is I thought it was kind of nice that the Halloween gang stuck together all these years,
right?
Because they were like 8 or years old, and then
they were tiny. Yeah.
So I was rooting for the gang.
The one thing I did like, or the one sorting that I did of these, because I always like to like sort these different anthology stories into different categories, right?
Yeah.
The Weak and the Wicked fell into the positive side of my strong female leads.
Yeah, evil.
Well, evil, yes. They're Halloween stories. You gotta have a few bad guys in a Halloween story. But I was pleasantly surprised at how many strong female leads there were in these stories. The Weak and the Wicked had one. The Grinning Ghost had a main character. Like the main character was female.
Mainly, yeah.
I don't know that I'd call her a strong female lead, but it was a female lead. Ding Dong, the witch, Bobby, was a very strong female character. In Bad Seed, the sheriff is a female.
Yeah. Trick was little girl versus woman.
Yes, and that was the other one that I had marked. So, I mean, really, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, it's kind of sad because that's 5. It's actually 5. It's
Friday
5 out
the
of the
31st. Did you mention that?
Oh, no.
That was kind of a Buffy turnaround kind of story, in a way.
Yeah. Okay, so the little alien kid did not read as female to me.
No, I didn't mean.
So, I mean, yes, it was a female body, but I didn't feel like it was a female character.
But she got her comeback.
She did. That was an interesting turnaround, and it made me wonder why I haven't seen that before, because it's so obvious.
I don't know, I feel like claymation aliens are not that common.
Well, I meant the whole, like, turning it around so that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre type guy is being chased rather than doing the chasing, and I've never seen that before.
Well, I mean, I think that's a Buffy thing. That's what you expect when you see a Buffy episode. If you see the little girl, like the young girl running away from a monster, you're like, oh, she's a demon. Something. Yeah, that's not going to go well for that monster.
Yeah. So it was interesting. I did like the claymation alien. I thought he was really cute.
He was adorable.
Trick or treat.
I didn't quite understand, that was one of my ambivalent ones because I didn't Like, I liked the twist aspects to it, but, I mean, I didn't feel like it was that great. Also, that was definitely the goriest.
Oh, Sweet
But
Tooth
I'm not
is the
sure.
goriest.
Yeah. There were quite a few of them, actually, that were pretty gory.
Yeah.
This Means War got pretty gory. It was a gory allegory.
Was it?
I don't know. Allegory is probably
not. It didn't have much
not.
of a point to me.
No, it was it was so symbolic.
Well, right. It was all about the classic horror versus the slasher modern
gore fest
metal horror.
Yeah.
But man, that story bothered me because it was kind of my second in line for doesn't go anywhere. Like, these guys have their fight, then they accidentally kill each other simultaneously. Well, the classic guy kills them both simultaneously, and they're dead. That's your story.
Which, if you think about it, is kind of a classic ending to a thing like this. Like, it's classic tragedy.
It is a tragedy.
So, in that sense, does that mean that the classic wins?
I don't know.
I don't know. I did like that you called it the Bugs Bunny song, and I totally recognized it at that too. I think it was the Ride of the Valkyries, wasn't it?
Of course you realize this means war. No!
Which is totally a Bugs Bunny, Elmer Fudd thing.
Well, when it comes to favorite stories, I have difficulty. I actually feel like it's the first 3 stories that I am really most into. Sweet Tooth was fun. It had a good twist at the end when the kid ended up framed for killing everybody. That was funny. And then The Night Billy Raised Hell it was kind of obnoxious. Like, I was really bothered by the pranks that they were doing. Like, they started getting guns and holding people hostage, and it was weird. But then the twist at the end was that, again, it's a frame job.
Right.
They just had Billy tied up, and they were going out making it look like he was a bad kid. That was pretty funny. I really liked the ending. I just think the things they did were weird. And then Trick...
Oh, wait. The other thing I liked about that one is how everyone, even the devil, was like...
By the way, Billy, is your mother dressing up again this year?
Yeah, I made a note of the devil. Even the devil is into Billy's mom. Oh, my other note on that was the wacky sound effects. Like, they're committing armed robbery and things are going boing, doo,
oh yeah, it totally like had all the wood blocks and slide whistles and everything of a cartoon. Yeah.
And he carved a shiv out of a toothbrush. That was delightful.
They really went after that dentist.
Yeah.
The lesson of that is definitely do not hand out toothbrushes for Halloween.
Sure. Kids will totally carve those into shivs. No question. But Trick was another fun one. It wasn't funny, really. It was just, these kids were, for no apparent reason, murdering these grown-ups who were hanging out, smoking dope in their house. And then we find out they had a really good reason, because those grown-ups were cutting kids' eyes out.
A couple of them
were. Well, yes.
I'm still convinced that the 2 of them had no idea what was going on.
I think that's a good story, yeah. I'm good with that.
I feel like I'm going to change and say that was my favorite one.
Oh.
Because the cool part about that is the twist was totally given away at the beginning.
Yeah.
But in such a subtle way that I totally missed it. I didn't even write the line down because it was such a throwaway line.
I did. Well, I might have written it down later, though. I'm not sure.
And then at the end, I was like... Oh my god, they totally told us what was happening, and it was like I totally missed it. I really liked that.
Yeah, and I liked how it seemed at first like it was one of these dumb Halloween stories or dumb horror stories of just these kids are murdering people, and oh, isn't it scary that kids are murdering people? And you're like, whatever, who cares? But then with the twist, it was like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah,
these
they
kids
were
are getting revenge.
They were saving.
And
somebody
they
like
rescued
that
girl.
They were the actual good guys in this story. You could totally tell that story from the opposite direction and they would be heroes.
Yeah.
But they looked like terrible, terrible people.
Yeah, that's true. And they made the girl who was hiding out in the eye removal room look like she was a total victim. She was crying in the corner, so scared.
Until you start seeing her and she's looking at these gory pictures and she's deleting them off her phone. When she didn't call 911 right away, I was like, well, that was weird. And I thought maybe she just dialed 911 in and to have it ready just in case, or like she didn't want to make noise. But then she starts deleting those pictures from her phone, and I'm like, oh, she doesn't want the police to show up.
Yeah, okay, that's my favorite story then.
I think that is my favorite story
Number
too.
3, Trick,
Although
is the best.
Really like Ding Dong.
Yeah.
Oh, she kept pulling Gretel's braid out of her mouth. That was
that was gross.
Gross. And then the kids from Trick showed up at her door.
Yeah, a lot of the kids showed up at her door. So, in honor of the first story, Sweet Tooth, I have to ask you.
Yes.
What's your favorite candy?
Oh.
What candy is so good you'd eat it out of your parents' stomachs?
That is so gross.
Yeah, that was disgusting.
You know, the ones that I go for first are like the any kind of candy bar with crunchies inside it, like crisp rice. So like I like
Nestle Crunch.
Nestle Crunch, although the chocolate is pretty firm. I like a little gooiness in there too. So like the 100 Grands.
Oh, I love those.
I like me some 100 Grands. I'm a fan of Kit Kats.
I know you are.
Butterfingers. And then I tend to like the This Is Nothing But Pressed Sugar kinds of candies. Like the
like Sprees.
Like yeah.
Oh, Smarties are the best of those.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
What are your favorites? What do you pick out first?
I'm always looking for peanut butter. That's important to me. So Reese's peanut butter cups are all over me all the time. I wear
literally there's just chocolate and peanut butter smeared all over your face the day after Halloween.
No, not the day after Halloween.
The month before Halloween.
All days.
True story.
What story?
I, for our listeners, want to rat you out as someone who buys Halloween candy well in advance of Halloween, eats all of it.
It's for the children!
And then has to buy more the day of Halloween.
No, but it's important that we have it in case kids show up and need candy.
What, like on October 15th?
Yeah. What if they can't tell dates? They're just kids. Kids aren't smart.
Yeah, no, we buy a lot of Halloween candy just to make sure that we have some left on Halloween.
Right.
Yeah. So you said peanut butter. Was there anything else that you really like?
Yeah. I mean, I love Snickers. Snickers are awesome. I don't know. I like nutty chocolate.
What is your least favorite candy? What's the candy that would sit in the bottom of the drawer all year long? There
are a lot of candies I will not eat. And Mounds and Almond Joy are both ones I will not touch.
That's all right. You're never going to have to face that dilemma.
I know. But because I don't like dried coconut. I love the flavor of coconut, but dried coconut is little pieces of paper. It's gross.
What about like Tootsie Rolls and stuff?
Not a fan. I'll eat them. I like Rolos. Those are good. What candy do you not like?
I'm not overly fond of the Tootsie Rolls.
Okay.
There's a lot of hard candies that I'm not overly fond of, or that I like, but only for very short periods of time. Like root beer barrels. Oh. Like every once in a while, I really like a root beer barrel, but most of the time, they just gross me out.
Yeah, I don't like root beer flavored candy. It's yuck.
Or those, like, the strawberry ones that are wrapped in the foil that looks like a strawberry.
Oh, those are so good.
I like them. And then I hate them.
No, like I never hate them.
I'm always one or the other about them.
Those are great.
So we talked a little bit about having trick-or-treaters come. Because we usually live in out-of-the-way places, we are one of those houses that has like the extra huge candy to pass out because we get like 10 trick-or-treaters every year.
Yeah.
So we never are going to get TP'd or egged because we give out the good stuff.
Yeah, except just a fun anecdote that has nothing to do with Halloween. One time, a kid rode his bike by our house and gave our house the finger. And
that wasn't on Halloween, was it?
No, it had nothing to do with Halloween. And we never knew why. We don't know what that's about, but I'm concerned about our next Halloween.
I want to make sure that it's... I want to explain that a little bit because I feel like it's less impressive that if he just rode by on the street. But we have a circle driveway and he drove in and gave our finger to the house, not just our property. Yeah, for no reason.
So kids are scary. Luckily he didn't stab us and take our eyeball factory away, so we're okay.
This is why I make sure that we have the good stuff.
Yeah.
In terms of anthologies, how does this compare as we move into doing our ratings with our patented 5-point rating system? How does this anthology compare to other anthologies that we've seen, in your mind?
That's tricky. I'm trying to remember other anthologies I've seen. One was The ABCs of Death, which literally had 26 stories in it. I reviewed it. It was very insane, off-the-wall, grotesque, obviously short stories.
Was it like a normal size movie?
Yeah, they were really short stories.
Wow. I thought these were short, and they were 9 minutes apiece.
There were a couple interesting ones, but mostly that was just crazy. This is better. This is very cheesy. Like, this is such a cheesy movie. It's fun. It feels 80s, even though it's very modern. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I don't remember specific anthologies I've seen. This feels like...
We watched the Holidays one, where each one was a different holiday.
Yeah, I liked that one. That was pretty good. Some of those were really terrible, but there was one that was like my favorite thing ever that I've ever seen in my whole life.
Whoa.
Yeah. But I think this is high up on my anthology scale. I liked that, I mean, looking at my check marks, 7 check marks out of 10, that's pretty insane for an anthology.
That is a pretty good ratio.
I mean, if you're like 25% is pretty good for an anthology.
Yeah. I feel like it falls under that same, anytime you're dealing with a short story, I think a lot of people don't know how to write a short story.
Yeah.
And which is kind of baffling to me because I don't know how to write a long story. But yeah, I think there's a sweet spot in... There's enough to it to make it feel like a story, but there's not so much that it just is too crammed for what it is.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the stories in this one hit that sweet spot pretty closely.
Yeah, they did all right. There was more ambiguous ending and nothing ending than I would like, but there were a bunch of twists, which to me that's what a short story is you set it up, you twist, you're done.
Right.
And if there's no twist, it's a total waste of time.
Well, I was telling somebody when I write a short story, I do the setup and I write until I feel that like gut punch of like, oh, that's what this is about. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done. That's it. No more.
That is it.
Don't resolve it. Let them figure it out on their own. I also feel like it was fairly high up there compared to other anthologies. If more anthologies were like this, I would not complain so much about watching them.
Well, I'm happy to check out 10 more this month if you want to.
I don't know about that. An anthology of anthologies?
Yes!
No. Ratings. Ratings. Okay. I'm trying not to let my overall general distaste for the term anthology, the reality of anthology, color my ratings here. I enjoyed this. I thought that a lot of the stories were strong, they were tight. I liked a lot of the acting. It was over the top, but in a way that was entertaining.
It was a very comedic style.
Yeah, I felt like there was a lot of thought put into making each one unique. Like all the stories were different, but they all interacted. Like there was effort put into it. It wasn't just somebody told 10 different people make up a story about Halloween and we'll shove them all into the same movie, which is often what happens with anthologies.
It is.
Even when they try to combine them. Last year we watched that one that was all the asylum stories. There were like 7 asylum stories.
Yes. Patient 7. It was all supposedly like this guy's personalities or something.
Yeah, but it was the worst.
But it was totally thrown together.
It was very clear that the tying together piece was not revealed to the people making the movies before they made the movies.
They just made stories and then they tried to tie them together.
Yeah, it was terrible. This did not have that problem. I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5 demonic jack-o'-lanterns.
All right. That is kind of insane coming from you. I'm excited about that. We're going to definitely watch 5 more anthologies this month. For me, this movie is the cheesiness, some of the story, like the night Billy raised hell, I can't give that a high rating. And Rusty Rex too. It's so cheesy and ridiculous in a way that isn't, I don't know, clunky. It's kind of clunky.
Yeah, I get that.
So I really had fun with it though. So it's above average. This is a 3.5 demonic jack-o'-lanterns out of 5 on our patented rating system.
Nice.
So, yeah, it was good and enjoyable with, plenty of weak spots, but that's to be expected in an anthology. You got to be on board for that. You got to take the ride.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say this was one of the gorier movies we've seen so far this month.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of just like eviscerating people and like taking out their eyeballs and removing body parts, and Friday the 31st totally like it was
we
like
haven't really discussed
it was
that,
like
yeah.
Monty Python-esque in the like hacking off whole limbs, and it's just a flesh wound, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep attacking.
Well, one of my notes on that movie was that they all looked like claymation, not just the little claymation guy.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
Yeah,
But
so
interesting style.
definitely a little bloody.
Yeah, I just, in that story, Friday the 31st, I was so ready for it to be really good. The alien shows up, possesses the body, and starts chasing the Jason guy. At that point, it's like an exact mirror image of him chasing the girl at the beginning. And I'm
Right.
like, oh, this is going to be fun. It's going to be a complete reversal of exactly what we saw. But then they got into the cabin or room or whatever and just started having like a big brawl to the death of chopping each other to pieces, and it kind of ruined
Right,
it.
it became ludicrous.
Yeah, it would have been fun if he was just terrified and just got reversed.
And here's what I don't understand about that is that, like, I was on board when the Jason guy or the serial killer guy hacked off one of Dorothy's arms.
Yeah.
Because Dorothy was dead and possessed by this alien, right?
Yeah.
Like, I got it that her body was still functioning even though it should not have been functioning.
Sure.
But then when the same thing happened to the serial killer, I don't care how much of a serial killer you are. Like, you lose that much blood, you're going down.
I'm okay with that. I mean, that's, it's like Jason, whatever. He was probably undead too. You never know.
I don't know.
These guys are monsters. But if they had turned it all around, at the very end, the way he killed her was he threw the spear at her. She had the spear right through her chest. She could have pulled it out and thrown it back at him when he was trying to run away. It would have been a mirror. It would have been great.
It would have been artistic.
Yeah, art.
Instead, they just went for the gore fest.
I guess.
Yep. All right, so that's that for our first anthology for the month.
First of many.
Great. Check it, yeah.
Because why?